Well, I think it's about time we can go ahead and get started. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our First Generation Student Night. My name is Lisa Hanselman, and I'm the director of the Mountaineer Parents Club here at West Virginia University. We really think it's important to talk to our parents, so we wanted to sponsor this special evening for all of you. As we go through tonight, we'll introduce you to our panelists. Everyone will share some information about what they do and what units they represent. And then towards the end, we'll go ahead and take your questions. So I will kick it off with, once again, I'm Lisa Hanselman and the director of the Mountaineer Parents Club. So what that means is that we have this unit right here on campus just for parents and family members. You can join the Mountaineer Parents Club. It's totally free. And we send information out to our families twice a month. This is the best way to learn what's happening on campus and to learn what's happening with your student, because the Parents Club is the primary way that WVU will be sharing information with all of our families. So in the chat, we have the link to join the Mountaineer Parents Club. And this won't be the one and only time you get that link or that info. We'll be sharing that throughout this whole process until your student arrives on campus in August. And then I will go ahead and throw it to Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking this time out to join us. My name is Michelle Payton. I am the coordinator of the First Generation Initiatives within the Office of Student Success. So we are under the umbrella of the Center for Learning, Advising, and Student Success. And but we serve all students here at the university. You'll hear more about everything that we have to offer, but I get to specialize with those that are the first generation students, which I was myself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. My name is Freddie McDonald, and I am the Director of Advising and Recruitment within the unit at WVU called the Center for Learning, Advising, and Student Success, which we work to support all of our exploratory students or our undecided students, as well as our students admitted into one of our guided pathways. As a first generation student myself going into college, I know that journey is a little bit different. And so I'm so excited that you all joined us tonight. And please feel free to ask your questions. Happy to answer those questions that you have tonight. Rochelle, I'll turn it to you.
Good evening, everyone. Like everyone else, I'm pleased to be with you this evening. I'm a regional recruiter, and I am one of 12 folks stationed throughout the United States, mostly the Eastern US, and I work with students primarily in West Virginia and a part of Maryland, but we have folks like myself in Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, New York. So we're out here to serve you and your admissions needs. So. And I see that Regan is next.
Hi, everyone. My name's Regan. I'm the director of the Office of Student Success, and happy to see all of you here tonight. Cindy, your turn.
Thanks, Regan. Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Drum, and I'm the director of the Student Support Services TRIO program on campus. And we serve 206 undergraduates here at WVU. In order to qualify for our program, you must either be a first-generation college student or an income-eligible college student, meaning that normally if you get a Pell Grant, that would qualify you that way, or have a disability. So we serve all of those three groups of students, and I look forward to talking with you more about our program later. Thanks. Jackie?
Hello, everyone. I am Jackie Helen, also a first-generation college student here at WVU, or was a first-generation college student. I have since graduated. I am the assistant director of the Mountaineer Hub, which is a part of the WVU Student Financial Support and Services unit at WVU, basically financial aid and billing. And I will say that on the call with us today, we do have our director, Georgie Anchek, who is also here to help with questions. So if he just wants to wave so everyone can kind of see him on the screen, and we'll tell you a little bit more about what the hub does here in a few minutes. And Alteria.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ateria Walker. I'm a current first generation student at WVU, and I am also a TRIO peer mentor.
Okay, we'll just move on here to the next slide and go ahead and get started. Michelle?
All right. So yeah, loosely, what is a first generation student? Sadly, there's not a one size definition. It can vary from place to place, but we have the student support services and TRIO programs, which I'm a proud alumni as well. And we just follow their definition so that neither parent or guardian has a 4-year college degree. When I was when I was heading off to college and I started student support services, I didn't ever understand it. My mom's a nurse, and I was like, well, she went to school, but she actually just has her RN. She never finished and got the BSN. And so I was still a first generation student because of that. So that's something very important. If you're, a trade school or an associate, something like that, unless they have that 4-year degree, then you are still a first generation student. So that is a good question that sometimes people have. Okay. I don't know if one of the big things that we will kind of talk about today, I think we slipped it a little, we went over it a little quickly, but it's what do you need to know as a first generation student? And with that, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And I think the best way to say this is working with a student, and she said, it was her sophomore year. She said, I knew that my college experience was different, but I didn't understand why it was different or how it was different. And so once she put it together that she was a first generation student and that there were a lot of things she didn't know and her family didn't know, and they didn't really understand what she was going through. With that, that's when it kind of was like an aha moment for her as to why it just felt a little off. But don't worry, we have a lot of people here on campus who want to help support you. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this presentation.
So next, know your acronyms. So what we wanted to let you know is that we speak in a lot of acronyms and nicknames and things like that here at WVU and probably on most college campuses. And sorry, I think that's probably really confusing sometimes. I will tell you, we even confuse ourselves sometimes and throw out an acronym to someone else who works here who really doesn't know what it is, and we have to backtrack. So I will apologize now, but we have provided something. We have kind of a page here. Ricky's put this up, and she will throw the link there in the chat. But just so you know, we do have this to help explain what we're talking about sometimes. You can see on this list FERPA. We're going to refer to FERPA many, many times throughout your students' time here at WVU. And that is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's actually really important. It's one of the things that will kind of keep all of the students' educational records to the student. So where, in high school, you have access to Schoology or whatever your school system uses, and you can see everything. When they get to college, it's not like that. You don't have that access anymore. Only the student does. So we will refer to FERPA and FERPA protected items. You can see on this list, we have so many. We all refer to the Creative Arts Center as the CAC or the CAC. We have Caruth, which is our Center for Counseling. And instead of using all that, we just say Caruth. But we'll have this list, and please look in the chat and grab that link. And again, this won't be the one and only time you have that. This will pop up again in other Parents Club things and during NSO. You can see there MIX. MIX is another great one. It means Mountaineer Information Express, but it really is your student's email address. So we will constantly say, have your student check their MIX account. So check out that list, because I think this is really important for you to be able to know what we're talking about. But if we use an acronym or a nickname or anything else, and you don't know what it means, please ask us. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it and that we're saying these things that might be confusing. So please ask anytime you have a question. Now, how to get help for your student. We're going to move this right along. And first up, we have the Mountaineer Hub.
Okay, everyone. So I told you that I was from the Mountaineer Hub. So what does that mean? We are WVU's one-stop shop for student financial services. So essentially, if you have questions about a student's account, or also referred to as their bill, their financial aid, their scholarships, federal work study employment, as well as their transcripts while at WVU, we handle all of those things in our office. And it's really important to know who we are, because at some other schools, you may just get notifications from a financial aid office, or you may get, excuse me, or emails directly from the bursar's office. And here at WVU, our office handles all of those things. And it was meant to, help simplify the process and help a student be able to contact one person who will be able to answer all of those questions. So it's really important to know that when it comes to those topics, we are going to email the student to their mix email, which is that keyword there that Lisa just mentioned, is their WVU mix school email. And it's really important to know that it goes to that student's account because of that FERPA, that Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. Which is why the Parents Club is so important to parents, because we work really closely with them to make sure that they get the information as well that says when the bill is due and when it's time to file that FAFSA, because all of those communications are going to go directly to the student. And it's really important that they are a part of that process and are looking at those emails to make sure that they are included in that conversation. Student's STAR account is also a big keyword there. Basically, the student's STAR account is where all of that information is housed. It's their own little portal into their finances and their academic records. And students need to get in the habit of checking that just like a bill. So how can you reach out to us? If you've already gotten your financial aid award offers, if you are still trying to qualify for scholarships and you've got questions, how can you contact us? Well, first off, our website is an amazing tool. We've done so much work on it the last couple of years to try to make sure that it is searchable, it is usable, and that it is a good resource for our students and their families. So right now we are working remotely, as you can see by this event. So while you cannot speak to us in person, you can't come into the office and see someone face to face. Currently, there are two main ways that you can speak to us. And the first is to submit an online assistance ticket, which is on our website, mountaineerhub.wvu.edu, and click the contact button at the top. And basically, it's an online email service. It just allows us to be able to log everything. You can also contact us. Our office hours are Monday through Friday from 8:15 to 4:45. That information is available on our website, and I can see that Ricky just dropped both of those links into the chat for you. Feel free to call us. All of our representatives are cross-trained to be able to answer all of those questions. We also have a chat bot called Morgan on our website, which can answer all general financial aid and student accounts questions. So, WVU partners with Google, so our website is very Googleable. But if you go to our website, you ask our chat bot, scholarships, or where can I get more scholarships, it's going to direct you to the page that you need to go. And if you feel frustrated and it's not giving you the answer that you want, we are continuously trying to improve that, because it is only about a year and a half old. So we're taking a look at those answers or questions that are coming in and working to improve it. If any of you are on right now and have not filed your FAFSA for this fall yet, we do also offer some virtual FAFSA assistance, which is pretty new for the last couple months. So that is also available on our website. If you just go to the Mountaineer Hub website and click FAFSA help, it'll take you right to the page to be able to sign up, and one of our representatives will help you one-on-one. And then last but not least, I also want to plug our peer educators. We started a new program within the last couple years in which we're working to train students about financial aid and student accounts matter so that they can also work with current students about budgeting. If you live on campus your first year and you're trying to figure out, how does financial aid work when I live off campus, or how can I make sure that I can afford this apartment? We have educators that can talk about those budgets, that can talk about federal student loans. So also, if you are awarded federal work study as part of your financial aid offer and want to learn more about financial aid and billing and get that academic experience, also feel free to check us out in terms of your educators as well. So that's a little bit about who we are, and we can go on to the next group.
Well, I'm happy to share information about the Office of Student Success. I know you're getting so much information tonight, and a lot of it's overwhelming. So just remember this: there's help and support available, whether it's through the Mountaineer Hub, the Office of Student Success, the Parents Club, or Cindy will be speaking about student support services. There's so many resources on campus, so we hope you take advantage of it. So our office offers a variety of programming and services. So we target certain populations of students, such as our FirstGen. Michelle has told you a little bit about that. We also serve the first-year pathway students who are our conditionally admitted students. And we also serve our RISE students, RISE WVU. And that is for typically underserved populations. In addition to that targeted programming, we also offer free, you don't hear that very often in college, free tutoring. And that free tutoring is available every day of the week. And those of you that have presented with me before know what's going to come next. Let me repeat that. There's free tutoring every day of the week. So students, if you find yourself struggling when you get to campus, or for those of you that are already on campus, we have help available. We have a great resource on our website, tutoring.wvu.edu, and that lists all the various tutoring centers across campus, their hours. Right now, all tutoring is happening virtually, but we do hope to resume in-person tutoring in the fall. Now, in addition to tutoring, we also have success coaches. And you're probably wondering, what is a success coach? Well, a success coach is a graduate student here at WVU. So we like to call them near peers. They're a little bit older than your typical freshman through senior student. And they work with students individually to help you be more successful in the classroom. So it's not a tutor, it's not content-based, but success coaches can help you with study skills, note-taking, just transitioning to WVU in general. And I think I went over all my information, and we'll be available to answer any questions that you have once we're done. And I will turn it over to Cindy to tell you about student support services. I think she's next.
Nope, I think it's going to be me, Regan. But that's okay. That's okay. In addition to all of the resources that the university provides, we also have a huge amount of opportunities for students to become involved and get engaged on campus with different organizations. And so Michelle and I just want to talk about a few of those. The first one on there is through our Office of Student Engagement and Leadership. We have a program that's called WVU Engage, which allows students to search for the over 400 student organizations and clubs that you can be a part of and join. These fall within interest groups, within religious affiliations, sports ideas, hobbies. It can be about professional programs or majors. So a lot of different opportunities to get involved with different student organizations. We want you to find that community here on campus. And if there is something that you're passionate about and we don't have a student organization associated with that, you can start your own club or your own organization. So it allows you the opportunity and the flexibility to find your niche here on campus. I also want to talk a little bit about community service and engagement. We have an office here on campus that's called the Center for Service and Learning, which operates a program that's called iServe. And iServe is an opportunity for students to see what engagement opportunities are available on campus or available in Morgantown or in the North Central West Virginia area. I always encourage students to get involved with some type of community service or service learning engagement. If not to, give back to the community, but to also do some research on yourself. And I share this story a lot when I do presentations. If you are thinking about a particular area of your major or a career, getting out and getting involved and seeing kind of the behind the scenes, the day-to-day operations through community service can be a great enlightening opportunity. I was working with a student one time who told me that she wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And she, when I asked her why she was drawn to that, she told me that her mom was a teacher, her sister was a teacher, and her grandma was a teacher. It was just something that they did. And so I had asked if she had ever engaged with young children, and she said, not really, but I'm not too worried about that. So through iServe and finding some opportunities, she got connected with our local Boys and Girls Club here in Morgantown. She went and spent an afternoon with that organization, came back and met with me a couple of weeks later, and I asked her how everything had gone. And she said, I don't want to be a teacher, which was a little disheartening for her, but it was really, really good for her to figure that out early in her college career. That way we could really identify, what was drawing her to education, that maybe working with children was not a passion of hers. And so we were able to get her directed into a more appropriate major, leading to a career that was more fulfilling for her. So iServe has a list of a whole bunch of community partners where students can go on and see what is available. Students can also get involved in their residence halls, whether that's through the Residence Hall Association or whether it's through individual hall councils that take place in their residence halls, putting on programming or just getting students involved within their residence hall that they are living in at that time. And one of our larger organizations on campus is, of course, our Student Government Association. So if you are involved in any type of government activities, whether you're involved with, kind of student council in high school or something like that, our Student Government Association is similar to that at the high school level, just at WVU. And so students work together with each other, but also with administrators and faculty members at WVU to implement change. And so you can kind of have your voice heard and give back to the institution while also getting engaged with other students who have similar interests to you. At this point, I'll turn it over to Michelle to cover a few other ways to become involved on campus.
Yes, thanks, Freddie. I always love Freddie's story about the wanting to be a teacher. That is one of my favorites. And if he's not presenting, I will share that one because I have some good ones. That one I think tops the cake. But the next thing is Adventure West Virginia. And you will probably receive information about first-year trips that you can do over the summer. So you may go out and they take your cell phones away. Prepare for that. But they're taking you to places, honestly, where the cell phone isn't going to work. Anyways, but it's all about going out and getting connected to this group of people. So I love Adventure West Virginia because of that. And the students that do those trips when they get here in the fall, they've already met and really got to develop, a bond with a group of students that are also going to be first-time freshmen as well. They do things all the time, though. Students can rent out equipment from them to go camping or skiing. They do random ski trips, but I use Adventure as a component in my programming. And I will say, I will take a 15-passenger van out or a group of students out, and it's so quiet. And we'll do in a day at the Outdoor Education Center, or even just they come out and meet us on campus. And you give it a little bit. It started with everybody, their heads are in their phones and nobody's talking. And then after an hour, or if it's a full day thing at lunch, then everyone's exchanging their information, and it's great. So I truly love Adventure. I think it's great. Even as a staff, our group, we went out and we did it ourselves, and it was a lot of fun. Also, a lot of students, they played sports in high school. They want to continue that, but maybe not at the WVU level. So they do have club sports and intramurals. So you can be involved and they have a championship. And so it's a pretty big deal. That's something that I would look into as well if you love that. And undergraduate research. Another acronym here we have is RAP. It's the Research Apprenticeship Program. Students can come in and they can do research as an incoming freshman, and they can, build up. They can do it for credit, or if you get work study money, you can get work study for your research. And then that way you're connecting with faculty across campus. And a lot of times students will continue it more than just that first year. So that's a great resume thing to have there that not all colleges or universities will have. So the Research Apprenticeship Program is a really, really great program. Freddie kind of mentioned it a little bit, major specific groups. Once if you're in your college, they could have one. They have peer mentors like our lovely student that's with us today. But you can find affinities, and even there's we were talking the forensics club. It's not for forensics majors. It could you find that kind of interesting. And the last thing we have are living learning communities. So those are groups you can live with people in a specific population in your residence halls. So we have one for our RISE students, of the underrepresented students. It's called the Quad. There's an engineering, of course, honors college. They have one, a global business, I think, is starting one. There's so many different groups. And the great thing about that is a lot of times is you're going to be taking classes, the same classes as other people. So it's already like built-in steady groups of people in your residence hall. And, you can have the good practices, you push everyone, you all go to class and study together. So living learning communities, that's another great option of getting involved. That's the biggest thing. This is going to be your new home. So there's always something out there for you. You just have to find what is most comfortable for you. And now we'll move on to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. Like I say, I'm really happy to be here talking with you tonight about Student Support Services, TRIO. And we are a program funded through the Department of Education, and we're a grant-funded program through the TRIO grant. So you may have heard of other TRIO programs like Upward Bound helps high school students get to college, programs like Talent Search. You may have had some of these programs in your high schools, but we are Student Support Services, and our main purpose is to help students from first generation and income eligible backgrounds, as well as students with disabilities, earn your college degrees. We serve 206 undergraduates in our program, and I was also a first generation college student. Financial aid helped me and made it possible really for me to graduate and finish college. So it is really a blessing for me to be able to be part of this program. There's a lot of things that make us unique on campus. First of all, to be eligible for the program, you have to either be from a first generation background, meaning neither parent has a 4-year college degree, or if you have a legal guardian, they do not have a 4-year college degree. You can have, your parent or guardian can have some college, as Michelle talked about, and you can still qualify. You need to be income eligible. So normally, if you qualify for a need-based federal grant called the Pell Grant, that would qualify you for our program. And you would know that if you've completed your FAFSA, eventually you're going to get an award notification from the hub, and they're going to tell you what you qualify for in terms of financial aid for college. And so if you have a Pell Grant on there, normally that would qualify you for us. Or if you have a disability and you're registered with our Accessibility Services office on campus, that would also qualify you for our program. The best way I can describe our program is that we are a safety net for undergraduate students. And we provide a lot of support services meant to help you build the skills and motivation necessary to earn your college degrees and get through all of your years here. We have 5 required services that we always provide to students, and those include free academic tutoring. Regan talked about the free services. You know, as college students, you typically don't have a lot of extra money around. And so those free services you should really take advantage of. And so our tutoring is free. We have academic advising services. We help a lot of students find their niche on campus, and we help them kind of match their skills and interests with the majors and their eventual career fields. We also help students navigate financial aid. And so we have a great service here on campus, the Hub. We work really closely with the Hub. But oftentimes a student doesn't understand about financial aid, like the different types, and we can help break that down to our students. We can help you troubleshoot financial aid concerns. For example, if you don't think you have enough financial aid to do what you want here, a lot of times we can help you kind of navigate that. We also help students if you have an emergency need that arises and you've been active in our program, we can help you with some emergency aid assistance. So for example, if your rent payment is a surprise and you have you come up short one month, or if you need a textbook and it's more money than you thought it would be, we do have a special emergency aid program just for our active participants. Our fourth service is financial literacy education, and we'll help our students learn about how to budget their money. How do you save for housing costs, for example? How do you know if you're going to have enough money or enough financial aid to cover your costs as a sophomore or even a junior? We go over things like credit cards, what to look for, what not to do, things like that. And the last service, in kind of looking ahead, you all are starting your undergraduate careers, or some of you are already in college, but we kind of help our students look ahead into graduate school and see if they might want to pursue that option. So graduate school preparation services is another thing that we provide to our participants. Yeah, and there's a lot of other things that we're permitted to provide that we do here. We have free printing services in our office. We're located in the Student Union, the Mountaineer on campus. We're really accessible to students, and we really try to make our office space a home away from your own homes. Like I said, we only serve 206 undergraduates on this campus, so we get to know them really well. And we have a hangout space in our office. We have a lounge area. We have computer workstations here. A lot of students come in and print papers and work on things in between their classes here in our office. We also have a lot of fun in the program. We have social programs. We take trips. We have cultural programs. All of those things are free of charge to you. And really, our main goal is to help you get comfortable as a college student. It's also to help navigate any problems you might be having so you can persist from one year to the next, and you can eventually get to that graduation point. We take students in freshman through senior level, but the really nice thing is you do have to apply to our program and be accepted because we have a limited number of spots. But once you're in our program, you're in our program throughout your years here at WVU. So you don't have to reapply. We're not just a freshman program. We are a program. Once you get in, you're with us until you graduate. We're also holistic, and that's really important as a first-generation college student, because having people that can kind of keep an eye on you and help you navigate any problems as you move forward is a really good, a good thing, I guess, to have on a large college campus. A lot of times students have their academic lives under control, but everything around them is swirling and they're having other problems. And so we can help you either get to the right people who can help you, or we can help you come up with a plan to solve those things. So that's what kind of makes us unique about our program. You do have to apply, And many of you on here, if you completed your FAFSAs and if you self-reported that you were a first generation or you're going to be a first generation college student, and if you qualify for any amount of a Pell Grant, you will be getting a mailing from our office. It's Student Support Services TRIO. You can look for that. It should get to you by the second week of April. And for those of you who might not get that mailing, or maybe perhaps you don't qualify in both ways as a first generation student or an income eligible student, and if you don't get our mailing, you're free to email me anytime, and I can make sure you get an application. I can make sure you have my email address. It's on one of those first slides, but we would be glad to have you all in the program. And I'll be looking forward to any questions you might have for me a little later on. I'm really happy to introduce too one of our participants, Atiria Walker. She is also one of our peer mentors in the program. She's been with us since her freshman year, and she can tell you a little bit more about her experiences at WVU. So thank you, Atiria.
Hello, everyone. Again, like Cindy mentioned, my name is Atiria Walker. I'm currently a junior nursing student at WVU. I'm also minoring in addiction studies, and I'm from Wheeling, West Virginia. So like Cindy mentioned, I've been a part of the TRIO program since my freshman year, and then I became a TRIO peer mentor my sophomore year of college. And it's been a great experience. The TRIO staff are supportive of all your endeavors throughout school and are there for you whenever you need to talk, whether it be academic, social, financial problems, anything. They're constantly there checking on you to make sure you're doing okay. And another great aspect of the TRIO program is they host fun events each month, some kind of like a stress reliever because school can be stressful at times. So having fun activities to turn to really helps. So they host like paint and sip, stuff like that. I've attended many of them and they're always fun. We always have a good turnout. And then when we were allowed to be in person, they also offered free snacks. So hopefully when we're back in person, you'll be able to go to the TRIO office and get some of their tasty snacks they always have sitting there. And along with free printing, because printing starts to add up over time, the cost. So having an office that offers free printing, and there's like no limit. You can print as much as you want, whatever you need. It's great. But a tip I have for you guys is definitely try to get involved on campus. There's so many student organizations offered here, and just kind of look at what your interests are. Like they mentioned, Engage is a good website where you can look at all different student organizations offered on campus. Some of the ones I'm involved in, I'm also a member of the Honors College, and I'm an Honors Student Ambassador. That is also a great program if you guys are interested. There's two programs through the Honors program. There's an Honors Foundation program, which is designed to give students like a deeper experience with their academics. They offer also different research opportunities. I was a part of that Honors Foundation program. It was great. I also lived in a living learning community at the Honors Hall dorm my freshman year. That was also a great experience. And I participated in the Adventure West Virginia this summer leading into my freshman year. I did the Odyssey trip, which is specifically for students going into the Honors College, like who were involved in the Honors College. So all of the students I met over the summer, I saw them again all throughout my freshman year. So it was like I had already made half of those friends. So it was really nice going in knowing that I knew somebody. But it was, and I'm telling you, yes, you didn't have your phone for like a week and a half, but it wasn't bad, guys. I promise. It was so much fun. I definitely recommend getting involved in it. Another program so the Honors Foundation program is your freshman and sophomore year of college. And then after that, you can apply for the Honors Excel program, which I am currently involved in. And that is a program, they give you $1,000 to participate in, conduct any research you want. That $1,000 can go to whatever you need for your research project. And you have a mentor that's there to help you along the way. It's a great experience. So if you're definitely interested in research, look at the RAP program, but also don't forget about Honors Excel as well. It's great. For those interested specifically in healthcare majors, I'm the president of Minorities Association of Pre-Healthcare Students, which is a community specifically for minority students interested in healthcare professions. Also, if you're thinking about going into nursing, I'm the community outreach chair for Student Nursing Association. So I'm involved in a lot, guys, but it keeps me busy, and I always have something to do, and it's fun. I've met so many great people, lifelong friends through these student organizations. But also remember, like, studying is your number one priorities. I study a lot throughout the week, but sometimes I still struggle with some classes. So I have had to go to tutoring for some of my classes before. And it's okay. Like, if you don't understand something, don't sit there and stress about it. Go to help. Like, reach out to your professors. They're there to help you. If you don't feel comfortable talking in class, you can always shoot them an email and attend one of their office hours. They're all super, super, super nice, and they're there to make sure you succeed in your academic endeavors. And so specifically for nursing, there is specific tutors set up for each nursing class. So some other majors are set up like that as well. So you can reach out to your professor, and they will actually set you up with a contact person where you can get a specific tutor for your major. So definitely look out for that. But overall, WVU is a great school to attend. I'm so happy you guys chose it, and I hope you have a great experience.
Well, I don't know if I want to follow all that up because she just talked about everything. It was great. As you can see, you can be super involved, and I promise we didn't prompt, and we actually didn't even meet to talk before this about adventure and all those different things. So I love that she just reinforced all that for us. So what is it to be a first generation student, or FirstGen, like we call it? The first thing is you're not alone. Typically, we have 22% of our undergraduate students that are first generation here in Morgantown. That, you're like, okay, what's 22%? Usually over 4,000 students. So there's a lot of them. So you're not alone. Don't feel that you are at all. And one of the biggest thing is you will often feel it. There's a name for it called imposter syndrome, but that you just don't really belong, and somebody's going to out you, and that you second guess yourself a lot. Well, don't do that. First of all, congratulate yourself on every step of the way, from applying to coming to events like this to learn more. Everything is a huge step, and that's how you're going to learn, because a lot of times you just don't know what you don't know. And we are here, and you get so much information, and it's all right. You can ask questions. We have so many great offices, from your recruiters to with our office, you have your advisor, you have those teams. So just make sure. One thing that I think is a lot of really hard to understand for students and parents, that college is a full-time job. So if a student is taking 15 credit hours, 15 credit hours usually means they're in class about 15 hours a week, give or take. And for every hour, we suggest at least 2 hours of study time outside of class. So right there is 30 hours plus your 15 hours of class time. That's 45 hours in a week. And so, a lot of times you went from going to school all day long and just being like pushed and pushed and pushed, and you do a lot of your work on your own. And you're expected to do that outside of class time when you get to college. So knowing that is huge. One thing that I use is I tell students to break it into 3 8s. So if you spend 8 hours a day for class time, for studying, for all of that, 8 hours a day, hopefully for sleeping, because, that's what's suggested. A student still has 8 hours a day to do whatever they want for themselves. So whether that's, working a part-time job, whether that is hanging out with friends, going to the rec, going to the mall, whatever, you still have plenty of time. And so when you do that and you schedule your time, it's a great way and very easy to feel successful and to stay on top of things. Now, I just told you there's over 4,000 first generation students. And while I'm in the Office of Student Success, I'm in Office of one for the first generation. But my job is not to get to meet, unfortunately, every first generation student. It's to connect them to other resources across campus. And so we want to help you find that support team. Is it a success coach? Is it a tutor? Your academic advisor is an amazing resource. Your instructors, your first year seminar instructor, which is your introductory to college class, is your really big instructor that you want to get to know, that you'll have in the fall, because they're going to have all this knowledge to help you. And it's all about teaching you the resources. When you're living in the residence halls, your resident advisor, or maybe you find a peer mentor. So we want to help you find your network. We want you to meet other people. So your peers, whether they're from a class, if you do an adventure program, any other groups, we want you to get involved. My best thing, when I was in college, I lived in one of the old school residence halls where it was just a bunch of double rooms all down a long hallway. And we really got to know each other. And I really like those a little bit more than these newer residence halls, which are more like apartments. And you go in, you kind of shut your door and you don't always get to know the people around you as much. The other thing is, always ask questions, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. And if you don't know what to ask, I tell students to just kind of word vomit. We'll figure it out. We've all been doing this a while, and usually we'll get there. We may have to go around, but we will figure out what it is you're trying to ask. And if it's what we answer isn't what you really wanted to know, ask again. It's okay. We know we speak this foreign language, and sometimes we say things so many times that we forget that we are, using acronyms and using the knowledge that we know, that because this is part of our life. As Lisa said, sometimes we even confuse other peers, other colleagues across the university that maybe aren't in the same kind of, aren't hosting these events or something. And we will use an acronym and it can mean a couple different things. And so we're like, oh, wait, which one? And Google is your best friend, especially when it comes to wanting to find something with WVU. If you Google tutoring and WVU, math, WVU, all that good stuff, it's going to come up. And what I get to do is, like right now, we are doing a Nailed It challenge with students. And so we provided these kits, and it's these blank cookies, and we had a baker come up with the designs, and they are fabulous and beautiful. And so right now people are picking up their kits and trying to decorate. So if you want to see how that's coming along, you can follow us on Twitter, and they're tagging at WVU Success, which is Student Success's Twitter account. And you can see people trying to get to see if they can nail it or not. There will be a fan favorite, so you can go in and vote, like whichever one you think's the best, but they do have until tomorrow. But that's really the thing. Remember, there's no such thing as a silly question. I know sometimes it's just sitting back and listening and trying to learn as much as you can. But if something doesn't make sense, please do ask us, because we want to make sure that you leave us with all questions answered.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what's next. Well, we still have a few more things to talk about, but what I wanted to just throw out there is that, really, we just want to remind everybody that coming up in the fall, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about what we'll be doing then, and we're still working that all out. But once you join the Mountaineer Parents Club, you'll be sure to get our emails, and you'll be right up there with everybody else getting all the info about move-in and how the fall will work. We do anticipate being on campus in the fall and having all of our students back. There might be a few restrictions and guidelines, but I think that's to be expected right now. But the important thing is that we will be here and having some in-person classes as long as we can work that out. So what we also would like you to know is that the Mountaineer Parents Club has 2 Facebook pages that we would really like you all to join. So first up, we have the WVU Mountaineer Parents Club Facebook page. It's a general page where we have lots of information, and we will be having contests, giveaways, all sorts of things on that. But that's the greatest place to be getting all the info that we want you all to have. We also have a Facebook page called the Official Families of the WVU Class of 2025. So that is for all of you parents of incoming students. That page is only incoming student families. So you will all have roughly the same questions. Some people might ask questions that you hadn't thought of yet, so you'll go ahead and get that answer before you even knew you needed it. And once you post a question, we'll go ahead and answer it for you and make sure that you have all the info you need about that. And please join that page and share some pictures. Share some pictures of your students and your family and everything else, because it's a really great way to get to know other WVU families. And once we're out of this period where you actually have your student here on campus, we do have a third Facebook page for the families of our WVU students. And that way you'll be able to learn from other WVU parents as we go through. So next up, Rochelle is going to talk to everybody here and give you kind of like the next things that we want you all to be doing. And after that, we're going to be taking questions in the chat. So start thinking about your questions. Rochelle?
Hello again. I forgot to mention earlier that I'm also a first generation student. So I was the first in my family to go to college many, many years ago. So I really enjoy working with first generation students. And like Michelle said, there's no silly questions. Admitted students should have received a link to their next steps to enrolling, followed by a packet in the mail, an acceptance packet with directions about next steps, but I'm going to review those with you. I know some of you have accomplished some of these things already. If you have not, if your student has not, please know that it's not too late to take the next steps to enrolling. So the first thing, and I think Jackie mentioned it earlier, is accessing the student portal, claiming your student account. And so that's key to getting access to that mix, that Mountaineer Information Express email, being able to communicate with folks on campus, in particular financial aid. And then the student portal where you take care of a lot of business, paying the academic deposit if you haven't already, and you're ready to do that, applying for housing, seeing your financial aid packet. So it's key to get access to that portal. You will pay your academic deposit if you haven't already in order to take the next step. It is fully refundable, so it's an advance tuition payment for the fall semester. Again, it's fully refundable if your plans should change. We hope that you'll join us, but we understand that things do change sometimes. So paying that academic deposit will then allow you to apply for campus housing. And our first-time freshman students are required to live on campus unless they're living with a parent within 50 miles of campus. And there's lots of benefits to living on campus. Students are most often more successful if they're living on campus that first year. So we highly encourage that. There is a separate deposit for applying to campus housing. That is partially refundable. That deposit is $225. If your plans change or your student's plans change and he or she cancels their attendance by May 1st, they will get a partial refund of that housing deposit. Students will want to review and accept, or in some cases decline, maybe in the case of a student loan, financial aid. So getting into that student portal, reviewing the financial aid offer, and then making decisions is important. Students can do that even before they pay the academic deposit. So in some cases, these steps are in a little bit different order depending on your situation, but you're certainly welcome to access your portal. It doesn't obligate you to take additional steps, but it will give you access to the financial aid package. And we realize that students often, need that information before they can make a decision about whether to enroll for the fall semester. Once the academic deposit is paid, another advantage is that a student will be able to register for a new student orientation. We have a new student orientation portal. You'll hear this acronym, NSO. There's an NSO portal. And when you register for new student orientation, you then can begin to work on that information system, the NSO portal that will give you the information we think you need before you actually meet with someone to register for classes, before you meet with an academic advisor to get registered for fall classes. So visiting WVU, we know that maybe wasn't as convenient or even possible earlier when you were searching for colleges. So if you haven't had a chance to visit, normally we would say, visit a school before you apply even, but in this case, we know maybe that is yet to come. So visiting campus, we do have in-person tours now. We started back in March, and those are small. We have a lot of precautions in place, so we want you to feel safe and welcome to come to campus when you're ready. There's information linked there for admitted students, those next steps. And just as a reminder, students should have links to the next steps to enrolling, and that would have gone to the email address that a student used to apply to the university. So keep that in mind. You can go back there and get those links. I mentioned again that I work with students in part of West Virginia and part of Maryland. So I may or may not be your regional recruiter, your admissions representative, but I'd still be glad to hear from you. I'll try to remember to put my contact information in the chat at the end, and I'd be glad to connect you to your representative too, if I can help you make that connection. And we're glad to help you navigate this process.
Okay, so now we would love to take your questions. You can put some questions in the chat for us and we'll get those answered. If anybody feels like turning on their camera and unmuting, and asking a question, we'll be happy to take that as well. But if you'd like to just start with a couple questions, we would love to hear from you, see what we haven't covered, what questions you still have. They can be about the topics that we talked about, obviously, but if you have a question about a slightly different topic, we're happy to answer that too. I think that between all of us, we could probably answer pretty much anything here. So,
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Please ask.
I have a couple of specific questions.
Okay.
One, I've been admitted, but it's looking like I might need to go into the spring semester, but I admitted as fall. So would I be able to go in at spring? And if I can, what does that look like going forward?
Rochelle, you want to take that?
Sure. So yes, you can certainly defer your enrollment or delay, but we have a form, it's a change of term form. So if you're not going to be attending college anywhere, you can simply defer your enrollment. And that kind of means that you'll pick up where you left off. You don't have to reapply. If, however, though, you're going to college somewhere else, staying closer to home, going to the community college, then you would need to reapply as a transfer student. But we can certainly help you with that process.
Right, because I have a scholarship. And then, thank you.
Sure.
I also have a scholarship. I don't think I need to say how much, but it's listed under my my financial aid as the exact same amount. So I'm thinking that I haven't actually gotten my actual financial aid, because I don't think a scholarship would be the only aid I got, I think.
Hey, Aiden. So if you've already filed your FAFSA, two things could be the direction in which that could go. So if you've already filed your FAFSA and we've gotten it within the last 2 weeks, we might not have gotten you packaged yet or have a financial aid offer out there for you. If it's definitely been longer than 2 weeks and you've gotten into your WVU portal and you're not seeing anything there, there's a possibility that you may have outstanding requirements that need to be completed. Doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It's just that the Department of Education requires that we basically just do a check called verification on about a third of all FAFSAs that come in. And I guess there's technically a third option as well. But quite frequently, we actually have a lot of students who accidentally put West Virginia State University on their FAFSA. So there's a possibility that you might have selected the wrong school too. It's really common to do because you see the West Virginia part and you see the university at the end and they're right next to each other. But you can actually check in your STAR account if we've received the FAFSA. So you'll kind of just want to go to the STAR account and look to see kind of what is showing in there. And if you're not seeing anything or you're confused by it, give our office a call and somebody can take a look at your specific account and give you further directions. That way you can make an educated decision about what you want to do.
Well, I actually feel really dumb right now because I just checked again on my mix thing. It's saying I have a federal work study, a federal unsubscribed loan, and a federal subsidized loan. But that wasn't there a few days ago.
It's possible that you did just get packaged.
So does that mean I've gotten the offer?
That means that you've gotten the offer, yes. It's okay. We just packaged students just recently too, a whole new bunch. So you're fine.
Right, and if it says action required next to it, there's something I need to do.
It just means you say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't want it. Yep.
Is there a way I could say I want it, but is it possible I can get more?
I would give our office a call so that we can double check your account. That's more of an account specific question.
All right, would you be able to put that specific link in the chat for ease?
Yeah, absolutely. Ricky will drop that right in there and you can submit a ticket right online and somebody will look at your account first thing in the morning.
Many appreciations.
Absolutely, Aiden.
Thanks, Aiden, for getting us kicked off here. So I'm going to read a couple questions that are in the chat, but again, if somebody wants to unmute and ask, that's fine too. We'll start with Jackie or George. What is the best site to find student loans and or scholarships, we'll say?
Well, sorry about that. I was having a hard time unclicking the mute button. Well, when we award financial aid to our students, we will actually include all of the federal aid, including grants and loans that students can borrow. So you can go there, and again, we will put the maximum amount of loan that you can get. Students are eligible for both a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan, and there's information on our website, the financial aid website, that you can go and read the difference between the two types of loans. But there are also private loans that students can borrow, or a Parent Plus loan, which is in the parent's name. But again, you can read about the differences on our website, financialaid.wvu.edu.
Thank you. Okay, I believe this one would be for Cindy. When can you apply for support services?
Yes, if you're interested in student support services, once you've been accepted to WVU, you're free to apply to the program. So I did get that question in the chat. I wrote down Kayla's name, and I'll make sure you get the application emailed to you. Like I say, many of y'all will get our mailing by the second week of April, but if you don't, my email address is, I can put that in the chat as well. If you don't get the application, you can feel free to email me or our website. Ricky can put that in there too, but it's sss.wvu.edu to find out more information. And there's an email address on there, and you can feel free to email us that way too.
Okay, next question. My daughter didn't get any of her housing preferences. She had submitted a change. How long does it take to get a new dorm or residence hall? I'll answer that one. So if your student went ahead and did her housing after self-selection to where she just puts in the preferences and just has to see, those three choices, and at this point didn't get one. When you put that into the student, into the housing office, when you go in and put in your new preferences or what she'd like to be waitlisted for, it can take anywhere from a week to a month, depending on when an opening happens up in that residence hall that she really wants to move into. But please don't give up hope or anything like that, because changes will go on for housing from now through July or August. So it's very likely that she'll end up in one of her top 2 preferences. It just might take a little bit of time to figure that out. And if you have questions, you can always contact the housing office and they'll go through it for you specifically. So sorry I took that one. So we'll move on to the next. Okay, this question is from Gavin. What is a track?
Can I explain that, please?
Please do, Gavin.
Okay, because it said that when I got accepted that I was in track 3 for electrical engineering. So does that like mean anything like specifically? I'm sorry. And then also I have a question about financial aid and then the personal stuff and then like the meals because it's like listed for a lot of money.
Okay, we'll start with the track. And Freddie, you want to grab that?
Sure, I can help with that, Gavin. Great question. And thanks for providing some context because I wasn't sure where you were going with that one. So for students admitted directly into Statler College of Engineering and Mineral Resources, they will admit students into exactly what you had stated, into different tracks 1, 2, and 3. And those tracks, those different numbers really correspond to a student's math placement. Now, just because a student is admitted into one track as opposed to another doesn't really mean anything, but it is kind of that math placement and where you would be starting that. Naturally, any student is able to challenge their math placement if they are not satisfied with, kind of where they're coming in for that first semester at WVU. And students can do that through the ALEX assessment, which is a part of new student orientation, which would take place in the month of June or maybe in August, a little bit later. Or students can submit dual enrollment if you're taking college credit courses and there's a direct equivalent to a WVU math course that can be used, as well as AP scores. So we know students taking AP classes and taking those AP exams will not get those scores until typically July. And so all of that can have an impact on those different tracks that you had mentioned, Gavin, but that's what that's in reference to. So I hope that's helpful. As far as the other pieces, the financial aid and the meals and things like that, I will probably let someone else answer those questions because I will not be the expert in that.
Sure. So Gavin, what is your financial aid question?
So because it says like meals is like 5,000, do I typically have to pay that much for meals and stuff, or could I go out like on my own and buy groceries and stuff like that?
Well, I'll let George answer because it is part of your packaging, but I will say that all incoming freshmen living in residence halls are required to purchase a meal plan. But George, I think you want to explain the rest?
Sure. So in financial aid, if you receive your award notification, you'll notice that there are different costs associated with that. So it's called the cost of attendance, and there are direct costs and indirect costs. So direct costs are charges that we will bill to you and that you will pay to WVU. So tuition and fees is an example of one. And meal plan is part of one if you are living on campus that first year and you have a meal plan. So it's a direct cost because the bill will come from WVU. We include that in the financial aid package. So it will be different dependent upon which meal plan you choose. So we may give an estimate to you of 5,000, but you may choose a meal plan that is a little higher than that. We would then change your cost of attendance so that we would include that full amount for your cost for meals. It may be a little lower than that. It all depends on the meal plan you choose that first year. Now, as you progress, let's say your sophomore year, you decide to live off campus. We still are going to include a cost in there for you for your meals. But at this point, it's just like you said, now it's for you to go out and buy groceries and learn maybe to cook if you haven't done that yet. But again, that cost will always be there. But the first year, if you have a meal plan, it's going to be the cost of your meal plan. And then after that, we do allow for you to go out and purchase food on your own.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Also, I'm taking AP classes like this year, AP Physics and AP Calculus, as well as CCP College Credit Plus composition 1 and 2. Could I use composition 1 and 2? Like, could I use those?
Yeah. So great question, Gavin. Most of the time, the answer is yes. Now, I would encourage you to talk with your regional recruiter. And if you aren't sure who that is, I'm sure Rochelle would be able to identify that, just to make sure that those courses that you're taking at CCP would be equivalent to WVU courses. And if those are, absolutely, you can bring those in. As for the AP courses, WVU does require qualifying scores on the AP exams. So you would want to make sure that you look into taking those AP exams if you were trying to use those for college placement at WVU. So hopefully that one, that you would be, kind of looking into that, but your regional recruiter should be able to help you with that as well, looking at those scores and what would be needed.
Okay. I don't know who that is. So could you guys definitely tell me?
Gavin, I just messaged you in the chat. So we'll get you set up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, so I think we got those done. So back to the chat. George or Jackie, do you need to apply for the Scholarship of Distinction? Is it figured in when you pay your tuition?
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button too. My chat was over top of it. So the Scholarship of Distinction does not require a separate application. When you apply to WVU, you put your, it's included with your high school GPA and your test scores if you were supplying test scores. And as long as you meet the admissions deadline for the scholarships, then you're automatically going to be reviewed for them. We usually review students, both new and continuing students, every week for their accounts to make sure that we are giving them the maximum amount of scholarship for which they're eligible. So there's nothing else you have to do other than just make sure admissions has your information and that you've applied to WVU, and we're automatically going to do that. Now, I do say usually because when we do run packaging, or like financial aid offers, we may be doing it on 3,000 students at a time, so it may pause. So if you've sent updated information to admissions or have more recently applied, give us like at least two weeks or so before you're trying to find out if there's any updated information, because it could also depend on what time of the week your information was submitted with admissions that could come through there. So typically about 2 weeks or so, you'll get that updated information. And what was the other question? Because I already forgot.
No, that's it for you.
Okay.
Or is it so it's figured into the tuition was the only other?
Oh, yeah. So your scholarship, as long as you are offered it and you accept it, when you get your bill in July, it will be authorized on your bill as part of your payment.
Okay, and then we have another question. I think Regan or I or Freddie can answer this. Where do you find out when to register for classes, pay tuition, the food plan, and the housing? And the general answer to that is at new student orientation. But I will let them, Regan or Freddie, you want to jump in and answer? No?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
New student orientation is the answer, certainly for registration. So as part of new student orientation, as soon as you complete that new student orientation portal, which will be open in May, you will meet with an orientation leader who's a student and kind of preparing you for that appointment that you're going to have with an academic advisor within your college or school. During that appointment and that meeting with your academic advisor, you're going to look at any coursework that you're bringing in, what courses you should be taking. They'll kind of review the block schedule that you've been put in and make any adjustments to your schedule that you would want to make. And so that advisor is there to help you, to support you through that process and make sure that registration is smooth for you. Naturally, if anything changes, so if you bring in AP classes, if you didn't have a chance to take the ALEX assessment and need to take it after new student orientation, if there are courses that you forgot to send transcripts to WVU, but through that conversation with your advisor, you remember you need to do that. At any point in time after new student orientation, you can reach out to that advisor. They'll be able to help you make any adjustments to your fall schedule as far as when it comes to courses and registration and things like that. So do not feel that at NSO is when you're going to have that finalized. Certainly, changes can be made later on in the summer before courses begin in August.
And then, so
I would just add, sorry, Lisa.
No, please go.
I was just going to add, one of the things I think is important for students to also see is catalog.wvu.edu. That lists all the courses that are offered at WVU and then all the courses that are required for a particular major. So if you're wanting to see what courses before NSO, which when I was in high school, I was very anxious. I wanted to know what my classes were like. Well, I'm still anxious, but I wanted to know what my classes would be like. The catalog is a great resource. Again, that's catalog.wvu.edu. I pretty much look at it almost really every day.
And for the rest of your questions, your tuition, so your bill will come out in early July after NSO has been completed, and then that bill will be due in early August. The food plan, the meal plan, and your housing will be part of all of that bill with the tuition in one sum there. So you'll be able to see that in July. Again, that is to be paid in full by August, or you can enter into a payment plan to go ahead and cover that and spread that out over several months.
And I'm going to plug, if you're attending Decide WVU, we're also going to give a presentation as part of that event to kind of talk about all those different types of aid, including the financial aid and the payment plan options. And then we will also be a part of your NSO program and give you an idea of what the bill will look like too.
Absolutely. Decide WVU is coming up in April, and Ricky will put the link in the chat so that you can go ahead and learn more about that event and get registered for that one. All right, next question, maybe Michelle and or Freddie. Can you explain the process for the first year adventures? Is going to be when the student arrives, and how that works?
So I'm taking that as an Adventure West Virginia question. And so with that, when you sign up for one of those trips, then that office will outreach with you, give you the whole list of where you need to be, what to bring, what not to bring. And so, because there's trips throughout the whole summer, some of them bump up right before students move in. And so with those, the students are allowed to put their stuff in their residence hall room and then go and leave for their trip. But it just depends on which one you pick. And that office will be outreaching to your student as much with all the information that would be needed for it. Sorry, no real specifics because there are so many different ones, and so they each kind of require different things.
Okay, next question. As far as housing. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I need to go soon. I was wondering if I could ask one more quick question.
Go right ahead, Aiden. What's up?
Thank you. If I went in for the spring semester, like assessment semester later, how would that affect my graduation? Would I be like, and like schooling, would I be like a semester behind everyone, or does it not work the same as high school?
I can help with that, Aiden. So typically our programs are designed for 4-year programs or 8 semesters. So if you were looking into deferring your enrollment until the spring semester, it could be one more semester. However, I do want to inform everyone that WVU does provide a lot of opportunities for students to take courses during the summer or even during winter in between fall and spring terms, in order to take classes to count towards your degree requirements. So even though you might be, kind of behind, quote unquote, a semester, you do have the opportunity to make up some of that time through taking courses outside of our regular terms of fall and spring by taking summer or winter courses.
Right. So if I join a semester later, I'm going in for forensics. So would I be like a semester behind work-wise behind other forensic students, or would I be joining forensic students who also joined during that semester?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So it is not designed really as high school is, but we offer courses and typically the same courses every semester. Once you get into higher division courses, it's a little bit different. But we have a lot of students who actually start their college career in the spring semester. So you would be joining in with the ranks of those students coming in and starting as well, and then working towards those requirements needed for the forensics program.
Right, and if I did the classes during the summer, I could graduate with people that came in with the fall. Like, I could just graduate sooner or later.
Yeah, it's absolutely a possibility.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you for answering my questions. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Aiden.
Bye.
Goodbye. All right. So the next question, as far as housing, what is needed as far as furniture? Some rooms show mini fridges. So I will tell you that the rooms come with everything that you need: a bed, a desk, a chair, a lamp, a dresser, all of that. A mini fridge is an extra. So you can go ahead and order that. You can rent that for the year. I would wait or have a discussion with a roommate and see what your roommate wants to do. Maybe y'all can split that. That is a great question though. But other than the mini fridge, everything else is just sort of an extra, and Ricky will find that link for options in residence halls and drop that into the chat so you can learn more about that. Okay, next up, how do I pay my remaining balance? Should I wait until further financial aid to come in? Go Hub team.
I can take that one. Well, you can, we'll say that. The bill will be due generally around the 1st of August. So right now, as you know, you won't be scheduling your classes until June, which will, for you incoming freshmen, you won't schedule until June when the bill will come out in July. So really, you don't know exactly what that bill will be. You may get outside scholarships. You may learn about those at graduation. So one thing that you can do is on your award notification, which is very beautiful, I might add, looks great. On that, that's going to give you an estimate of how much your tuition and fees will be and the financial aid that you have currently. So you can use that as an estimation to determine how else you may be paying that bill. Now, you may decide to take out a Parent Plus loan or look for a private loan. At that point, you may actually have enough financial aid to pay all of your financial aid, including those outside resources, and that will be taken care of at the time we make the payment. But if you aren't wanting to take out loans and you are just wanting to set up a payment plan, soon, within about the next month or so, you'll be able to set up a payment plan early and start paying now so that when August rolls around, you will already have paid a portion of your bill and you can continue paying throughout the beginning of that first semester. So there are a couple of different options. Again, when you get your bill in July, you'll need to make that payment or set up a payment plan to finish that bill, but you have some time. You can do it now if you want to spread those payments out, or you can wait until you get your bill and you know your final numbers. But either way, you can do that.
George really loves that letter so much. Okay, so the next question is from Emily. And Emily, let me just say that you're very brave. So this may be a little odd to talk about. I heard there's a scholarship for surviving leukemia. I'm also currently taking treatment at Ruby on campus. If there is a leukemia scholarship, how do I go about applying for that? So Emily, we'll let them answer, but you know what? We're all behind you on that. So George or Jackie?
Well, when talking about scholarships, there are a number of scholarships that are available. Unfortunately, we don't know about every scholarship that's out there. I would recommend going online and using one of the search engines. So if you go to financialaid.wvu.edu and go under scholarships, you can go in and use one of our search engines to search for scholarships that may include leukemia survivors. You may also want to talk to maybe representatives at the hospital to see if they're aware of any organizations. But one thing we want to make sure you do is when doing these searches, please do not send payments to anyone that may help you look for these scholarships. Unfortunately, there are folks out there that do try to take advantage of those looking for scholarship funding. So whatever you do, before you decide to apply for scholarships that ask for money, please contact our office. But again, unfortunately, I'm not aware of anything specific for this scholarship that you're asking about, but there are opportunities that you can do searches for and find those. Also, I want to say, I don't know if you're working with anyone, vocational rehabilitation, but it's also possible that you may be able to find some sources for funding through vocational rehabilitation if you are involved in that as well.
Thank you. Okay, next up, question from Colby. I did not get anything about anything other than subsidized and unsubsidized loans.
I'm assuming maybe you didn't get anything.
I'm sorry, I put that in from earlier when he was saying that you'd receive in your packet, it would say about your subsidized and unsubsidized loans, and it will also give you where to apply for regular loans. I didn't get anything showing where to apply for regular loans or personal loans. That's what that meant. Sorry about that.
That's fine. I mean, when you start talking about loans and college and everything else, it can get very complicated. Yeah. I mean, if the student has already received their financial aid offer, it depends on steps that may have needed to be taken. It would have been one of the additional options at the bottom, towards the bottom of the award letter, which would have given you some information about here's the cost of attendance minus the financial aid. Here's what you owe. And then there would have been options at the bottom about, payment plan, would have been options about Parent Plus loan or the private loan on that particular letter. If the student has already been packaged and hasn't received that, they can submit a ticket or call our office and we can make sure that they got the award notification. If not, there is also, and I put it in the chat earlier, but I can drop it again. We have an entire web page dedicated to other funding options, which will include that same information that's on that award letter, including the information about the private loans and the Parent Plus loans.
Okay. Yeah, she got her award on the, on her WVU account. We didn't get any paper awards in the mail. So I think that's it, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
we didn't do
just check
paper.
it again and I'll take another look at it.
When we did paper, it was, confined to a very small space. And now that we've got these electronic award letters, we can do so much more with them to give people individualized numbers, which is why George loves them so much. They're just so pretty.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, next question. As far as on-campus living, when would we move onto campus? So Abby, I'll go ahead and answer that. So we're still working out some of the details, but by May, we should be able to have the answer for you and give you a lot more information. So stick with us and keep watching your emails and anything from WVU and the Parents Club, and we'll make sure that everybody gets all that moving information, but it probably will be May before we have everything all worked out. Okay, next up. Are textbooks a direct cost or an indirect cost?
Sorry, I'll take that one. So that's a great question because I also get confused sometimes on that because you have to buy textbooks. So to me, that's a direct cost. However, because there are so many resources out there for textbooks, we do put that in their cost of attendance. We do an estimate based on the number of hours that you'll be taking, but you have the option to choose where you purchase your books. Now, we do have an agreement with our on-campus supplier for books at our bookstore, where you can utilize financial aid if you have enough to go in and purchase those books, and they will use your financial aid and pay that directly to the bookstore. However, you can also purchase your books wherever you wish, and that money then would be that was assigned for your books, if you have money coming to help you, it would be sent directly to you as a refund. So it's technically a direct cost, but it can be an indirect cost because you can choose wherever you want to purchase your books, whether you buy them online early, and then you would just basically reimburse yourself with the financial aid that you have coming in. But again, there is always the option to utilize the bookstore and purchase your books in advance, and then they would use financial aid when it comes in.
Okay, so we have a question about what if you missed the ALEX test. I think that we, or Freddie, went ahead and answered that already. But real quick, Freddie, if you want to give us 2 sentences here so we can make sure we get it covered.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So ALEX is the math placement assessment at WVU. There were some students who were invited to take that before new student orientation. If you did not have the opportunity to do that, or if you weren't involved in that communication, that is absolutely fine, because as a part of new student orientation, you'll be having that discussion with your advisor. And if you do need to take ALEX, or you would like to take ALEX to challenge your math placement, you'll have that opportunity to do that after new student orientation.
Thank you. Okay, back to our Hubbers. For merit scholarships, when does WVU update the award amounts if an updated GPA raised my son to the next bracket? And when WVU receives the final transcript? Also, they have a community college transcript coming in that they'll want to do for advising. So maybe if George and Jackie can answer the first part, we'll go to Freddie for the second part.
Okay, so if we do get a revision for either test score or your GPA, it will take approximately a week to 2 weeks before you would receive any update, just because it takes a little bit of time for the transcript to be entered into the system, and then once it's entered into the system, for the information to get updated. But again, if we do receive that transcript after you have graduated, if you've already been awarded and the information comes in later, so June, after you've graduated, the new transcript comes to us, we will still be reviewing that to make sure that we are awarding you the best scholarship available. And that includes the test score as well.
And I'll take the question about the community college courses. And this is very important because even when it's a program through what we call dual enrollment, or if your high school partners with a local institution to take courses, it's very important to have that community college transcript, or that institution that you're taking those courses through, that transcript sent to WVU. Once we receive that, we'll evaluate it and articulate it as equivalent coursework at WVU. If that is after new student orientation, that is okay. Again, you can reach out to that advisor. We can take a look at that and help you make any adjustments to your schedule for the fall semester that's needed. But it is going to be important to have those transcripts sent to WVU once the courses have been finalized and the final grades are on your transcript at those institutions.
I just want to make sure to clarify, Freddie said it, but you have to request for that institution to send it to WVU. Your high school counselor will not send that dual enrollment or from another college or institution. So you will have to request it. And if it's not received before your orientation, if they call it, say you take something at West Virginia State, since we talked about it earlier, and you take what is English 131 there. If you know that exact information, when you meet with an advisor, we can look it up and see if it's already in our system. If not, always save the syllabus of every class you take, because if we need to have it evaluated, it just makes your life so much easier. All right, that's all I wanted to add.
All right, next question. Are they allowed to have small air fryers or a toaster in the residence halls? The basic answer is no, small appliances are not permitted, although there is a list of what to bring, what not to bring, and we will drop that into the chat for you. But basically, the micro fridge is something that you can rent, and there are options where you can bring your own fridge, but similar with the microwave, you cannot bring your own microwave. There are a lot of safety issues involved with lots of different appliances going on, and so we really don't permit most of them. Okay, when should we be applying for personal loans? How long does that take to get approved and for us to receive a check to make a tuition payment plan, or to receive a check to make tuition and our payment plans all monthly?
Okay, I can take that one. So if you're applying for a personal loan, now, when you're talking about a personal loan or a private loan, there are private loans on our website, and we do have a service through Elm Select where you can look at a number of different private agencies. And those private loans, you want to apply or start applying for in March or April to make sure that you have the credit all checked. Federal loans, there is no credit check for students, but for private loans that are educationally related, there is a credit check. So if you do that in, I should say April, credit checks are good for 6 months. That will allow time to get everything processed and make sure your financial aid is here. One thing, though, that you want to realize, even though you may be approved in April or May or even early June, we're not going to be able to work with that lender until after the student has registered for all of their classes. So depending upon when you register during orientation, if it's early June, then we may be able to process that in early to mid-June. But if you register in late June, we're not going to be able to do that till early July to make sure that we see how many hours you're taking and what you're eligible for. I hope that answered the question. Now, if you're looking at a personal loan through maybe like your own bank or your credit union, and it's not going to be for educational purposes, it's just a private loan, then again, the bill is generally going to be due the 1st of August, so you'll just want to plan accordingly that way. When we're talking about our payment plans, they are monthly. You have 6 months is the maximum, so it all depends on when you start that payment plan. So the later you wait, the fewer payments you'll have to make for the semester.
Thank you. Next up, I think we'll go to Freddie. What are the pros and cons of taking the AP exam?
Thanks for that question. That's a really good question that we often, get. Should I take the AP exam or should I not? Any student can go on to our admissions webpage and you can kind of see what type of credit you might receive for the different scores on the variety of AP exams. In small, kind of in a short answer, taking an AP exam cannot hurt you. It can only help you at WVU. Depending on the major that you're going towards, it could significantly help you, or maybe it would just come into count as elective credit towards your degree specifically. So it really depends on what major you're looking into pursuing, and do you have the ability to fund taking those AP exams and things like that. But in short, it cannot hurt you to take those AP exams and have those scores sent to WVU. It can only help you.
I will say, just because I've experienced, I took a few AP courses and it got me out of a couple courses my freshman year. Like, for instance, I did AP psychology. I scored high enough to get out of psychology 101. So I went straight into the next level of psychology that was required for my nursing major. And then also, I don't know if your high school offers this, but certain college preparatory courses that are college courses, but you don't have to take the big test at the end. I attended Wheeling Park High School in Wheeling, West Virginia. So we called them CP courses, but I took a few of those in high school as well. And that got me out of a couple of my courses as well, like English 101 and general education courses like that. So a lot of my teachers in high school told me that it, like he was saying, it doesn't hurt you any. And oftentimes the prices offered in high school are cheaper than what you would pay in college. So I'd take advantage of it if once you look into your major and see what general courses that they require.
Thank you. It's always good to get the insight from a student. Okay, next up, maybe Regan and or Ricky. What costs are related to joining a sorority?
Funny you give me.
Regan, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say most student organizations, sororities included, fraternities as well, require some sort of dues. Now, some student organizations have very inexpensive dues. And of course, there are dues that are expensive, right? But so typically when you join a Greek organization, there are costs associated with it. And it does really vary from organization to organization, and they go over all of that information during the recruitment process.
I'll add in a tidbit again. I'm a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated here at West Virginia University, the Eta Omicron chapter. And so, like Regan was saying, costs do vary depending on the sorority you join. But when you attend like your rush and stuff, that's when they'll lay out all that information for you. So you'll know ahead of time when you can start saving up money and knowing how much in total it's probably going to be. They'll give you an estimated total.
And can I add something? I've never been in a sorority, but I do want you to know that financial aid purposes, those costs are not included. So technically you cannot use financial aid to help pay for your fraternity or sorority dues. We do get that question a lot for students. They'll say, can you please add this part to my budget or for my financial aid so that I can help pay those costs? And unfortunately, we can't do that. Now, for anyone that is living in housing or may have a meal plan in there, yes, housing and meals are included as we talked about in that cost of attendance, but the dues, unfortunately, financial aid can't help pay those.
I also wanted to let you know that most of the sororities have GPA requirements as well because, academics comes first. So make sure your GPA stays within a good limit as well. And they usually look at community service. Now with COVID, I know it's difficult, but if you go on iServe, there's a lot of virtual opportunities that you can take part in. So you can start your community service hours. And with your majors, most of them, like for nursing, we're required to have 100. So I definitely recommend you trying to knock out the majority of your hours your freshman and sophomore year, because once you get into your junior and senior level courses, that's when they get more intense and more stuff you have going on. So the sooner you get them done, the better.
I don't know how we got so lucky to have Ateria joining us today, but goodness, she's wonderful. I'm so excited. Okay, next up, when you do your housing deposit, is that when you choose your roommate preferences? Prior to February 28th, yes, but we have passed the point of self-selection right now. So when you fill out your housing, or when you do your housing deposit and you'll do your housing application, you will put in your top 3 choices for your residence hall. If you have a roommate preference, then you can add that, and your roommate will have to fill it out, her application or his application, the exact same way, and choose you as a roommate. And then housing will work to fix that and to get you all together. If it turns out it doesn't work out, you can always go back to the housing assignments office and try to choose another room together. But it's a little more complicated since we're out of self-selection, but we will absolutely do our best to get you and your roommate together there.
Also, I just wanted to quickly answer Abby's question. So Abby, actually, I only lived in the dorm my freshman year. After your freshman year, you're not required to stay you don't have to stay in the dorms if you don't want to. So I actually live in an apartment now. And I still use, so I received the Pell Grant and some financial assistance, and I received some other scholarships too. So I actually get a refund back. So I use my refund check to pay for my rent because it comes directly to me. So there's certain scholarships that you will get through organizations that comes directly to the school, and some that will come directly to you. So those scholarships I use to pay for my rent. So there's still a way, if you don't want to live in the dorm after your freshman year, that you will still be able to cover it with some scholarships or financial aid.
Which is also a good point of, in your freshman year, if you end up living with just a roommate that maybe you don't know very well, that's fine. It's a good way to make a friend. And then beyond that, you can live in an apartment or whoever with whatever roommates that you choose. Okay, how do I go about adding a minor to my current major?
I can help with that one. So for anyone who doesn't know what a minor is a sub area of study sometimes required by your major or other times not. That gives you a skill set or a knowledge base in an area typically outside of your major. So if you are interested in pursuing a minor or multiple minors, you would definitely work with your academic advisor in order to do that. So every student is assigned an academic advisor, no matter where they are within the institution, and that advisor would be able to help talk with you about what opportunities are available for minors at WVU and when's the best time to declare one of those minors and add it to your major. You can do that as soon as new student orientation, or you can do it as late as, the semester in which you're graduating. Those are retroactive. So if you have all of the coursework completed and then declare that minor, you can add that to your degree, and that will be, transcripted, and you would have that completed as well.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to be majoring in forensics. Does the AP Calculus exam help me or not?
In general of answering, yes, it will. So for forensics, as well as any program that requires calculus or higher, the AP exam could certainly help with either meeting the requirement of calculus or getting you into a course that might be slightly higher than ACT, SAT placement or ALEX placement or whatever it might be. So yes, it can certainly help, as actually you have to do more than just calculus 1 with forensics. You have to go higher than that. Typically most students will go through calculus 2, but there's a different track of math for forensics. So in short, yes, it would definitely help you in your pursuit of forensics.
Okay, next question. I think we'll need Rochelle maybe for this one. Could you explain the Ohio Reciprocity Agreement? Planning on majoring in forest resource management and doesn't know if this qualifies or not.
I believe that is a qualifying major for the Ohio Reciprocity Program. And it sounds like you have a little bit of knowledge, and our hub folks can back me up, but that's, if you're enrolled in a qualifying major and a resident of Ohio, then you qualify for in-state tuition at WVU. We do have a resident expert. Her name is Jody Kilpatrick, and she's likely your WVU admissions counselor. So if you'd like me to connect you with Jody at some point, I'd be glad to do that too. But basically, I do believe that is a qualifying major.
Thank you.
One thing to point out, I'm sorry, but if you do qualify for the Ohio Reciprocity Agreement, which is a very good thing, it could affect scholarships that you've already been offered, because when we sent out the scholarships, that would have been based on you being an Ohio resident and paying non-resident tuition and fees. So again, please go and check the scholarship website. If you are going to change and get the in-state tuition and fee charges based on Ohio tuition reciprocity, just look and see what of your scholarships could change, because again, there is a possibility you could lose some, or you may have a reduction in some of your scholarships.
Good point.
That's good information. Thank you. Is free parking available or is there a cost? Y'all want me to do this one? So first, I have to start by saying you really don't need a car on campus. You really don't. We have buses and the PRT and lots of ways for students to get across campus. But should you decide to bring your car, for daily parking, there is daily free parking at the Coliseum, but you cannot park there overnight. So you could park at the Coliseum and take a bus across the street to the PRT and head to wherever it is that you need to head. For any overnight parking or parking elsewhere besides the Coliseum, like downtown or anywhere else, you're going to need to either pay a daily fee or to have a parking permit. There's no overnight parking without a permit. And if you get one from WVU, it's mostly for what we'd call like a retainer or a storage lot. So that would be somewhere not necessarily too close to a residence hall or a building, but where you would park your car and then access it as you needed. But it would be probably a decent walk or so to wherever it is that your parking pass ended up.
I do just want to say I moved to Morgantown, which is a 350-mile drive one way, and brought my car my first year. And after going home for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and spring break, I only put 3,000 miles on my car that year. You really do not need a car on Morgantown campus.
And to be fair, this is West Virginia, so there are hills involved, but it's okay. You stay in really good shape after that. So, all right, Emily has a question. If you still have Air Force ROTC, would I eventually have to join the Air Force if I participate in ROTC?
So I can help with that. And it looks like Rochelle had posted some contact information later in the chat after that, connecting you with Lieutenant Colonel John Arayanis. We do have Air Force ROTC. Students can participate in the ROTC program without enlisting after graduation. There are, of course, certain benefits for enlisting with the Air Force after completing that. But in addition to Air Force ROTC, we do have Army ROTC as well. So those are the two branches that we have on campus at WVU in Morgantown, so Army and Air Force. But students can participate in either program without enlisting in either branch of the military. But of course, I would encourage you to contact the representatives within either of those ROTC programs to learn about what opportunities do present themselves for just joining ROTC while a student at WVU, or potentially even enlisting in afterwards.
Okay, and we have one last question in the chat, and I'm going to let Ricky answer this one. Will this be posted anywhere for us to rewatch?
Yes, I am recording this, and it will be available on our Parents Club website, as well as our YouTube. I'll put it in the chat. It should be ready to go next week.
Perfect. So that's all the questions. If there are any others, please let us know. Otherwise, I'll give everyone a minute here, but really we did want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope that you all got all the answers that you were looking for. We certainly view this as a great success tonight for having all of you join us, and we appreciate you taking the time to spend with us this evening. If you still have questions beyond tonight, which is perfectly normal, you can join us for, again, that Decide WVU event, because we'll certainly be able to answer a lot of questions during that event. But feel free to reach out to the Parents Club at any point. You can email us at parentsclub and at mail.wvu.edu, and we're happy to answer your questions or get those questions out to the people who could answer them if we can't. But just know that we're all here for you at WVU, ready to answer your questions and make this a wonderful transition and a great year. So if we can do anything else, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll say goodnight. Thank you.